Hello, beautiful people. Have you ever come back from a break in your life and felt overwhelmed at how fast your life hit you? Great. Let's take a breath before we even get into this video because my nervous system is still catching up with my calendar. Welcome to today's live reentry after respite, caregiver edition, depression edition, anxiety edition, grief edition. I usually go live on Fridays at 12:30 CST. It is not 12:30 CST, but I made it. Okay? I made it. 12:30 wasn't going to work, so we're here now. If you are a caregiver in any form, and even if you're not, this video is for you. If you take care of your mom, if you take care of your child, your partner, your friend, if you take care of your community, which Black women, that's all of us, yeah? Or if you just are a person that is always offering support nonstop, I'm here with a very unique video. I just got back in town from 5 days away at the Healthy Voices conference that was hosted by Johnson& and Johnson in New Jersey. It's a conference for online health advocates across North America, and this was their 11th year hosting it, and they paid for my travel and my accommodations, okay? All opinions and statements are my own. Amen. Disclaimer, life. So listen, I am not the same person coming back from that conference that left Missouri last week. I literally am not. I'd been having a week, um, and I'm still processing what happened to me because I was in a space where people actually saw me, like not a version of me that needs to perform anything or even powers through anything. Not a version of me that gets told, I don't know what you do. I don't see what you do. And yes, I have that being told to me recently and consistently. Or not a version of me that gets treated like I should be doing more and more and more and more. Not a version of me that people assume is fine because I was taught by well meaning people to make it look easy. Not a version of me that people try to understand, but honestly don't sometimes know where to begin. Because obviously people have their own lives, people have their own loads, and people have never lived what you've lived every single day. This past weekend, I felt for the first time like somebody saw me as a whole person, as a me who is living with multiple major depressive disorder diagnoses, an anxiety disorder diagnosis, a PTSD diagnosis, a me that is a caregiver to a son with special needs, a me who is healing from a difficult and very complex relationship, and a me who is in the middle of moving out of her home while commuting back and forth most days of the week because of my son's special needs. Okay. And then when I came back to St. Louis after 5 whole days, you guys, 5 days at the conference, one of which was because I got stuck. I got stuck in the government shutdowns and the travel situations. And the reentry kicked me in my whole entire face and was like, "Welcome back to the jungle, Rushni." I decided that because I have a very unique lens, I wanted to do this very unique video about reentry after respite. So let's talk about it. If you are new here, my name is Rushni Cope, also known as Glamazini Online. I am a certified life coach and I'm also a content creator. I help Black women heal, amplify their gifts, and create lives they love that love them back. Okay. If you are watching, I am live on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and on Facebook. Drop a pineapple emoji in the chat and tell me where in the world you are watching from. I am in good old St. Louis, Missouri. Quick housekeeping before I start. I did not do any community live video this week or a pre recorded video for reasons that will become clear when I do this video. Um, Life is lifing, yeah? But There is plenty of content waiting for you already. So if you're new here or if you're true here, I invite you to browse all of the videos on whatever platform you're looking at me on because there's already goodness available for you. Also, if how I'm talking sounds good to you and you want deeper support to help you create the year that you want, my Create Your Life virtual planning retreat kicks off on December the 12th. You can find out more about it later in this video, and you can sign up to join us or just read the testimonials and find out more at glamazzini.com. The link is on the screen and in the information box. You can also go to bit.ly/virtual planning retreat. Hey, Marissa, how are you? How are you? Okay, let's get right into this because this is going to be a good one, at least for me. Coming back home after being cared for, right? I call this video Reentry After Respite. Yeah. Before we even get into the mechanics of reentry, let me set the stage for you guys so you can know exactly where I'm coming from. The contrast between where I was last weekend and what I returned to is the entire premise of this video, especially if, like me, you are intending to create a life that you love, that wildly loves you back, that holds you, that sees you, that includes you, right? Right. Okay. So let's listen up. Hey, is that Lori? I can't see because hi, Lori. I thought it was you. You were covered by my notes, but I could kind of see part of it. Hey, Lori, how are you? Thank you for my pineapple. Okay. All right. I just spent 5 days, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I got stuck on Monday. Okay. I got stuck an extra day, right? In a space where I felt held, I felt seen, not tolerated, not ignored, not opposed, not commanded and demanded, you guys. I felt held. I felt seen. I was at the Healthy Voices conference, which is a conference for health advocates online, and I was surrounded by people who actually understood what it means for me to be living with major depressive disorder, to be living with anxiety, to be living with a PTSD diagnosis, and to be living with all those things under the weight of being a caregiver to a son with special needs. These people were asking me thoughtful questions. These people were adjusting their pace for me. They were adjusting their tone. They were adjusting their expectations because they recognized my humanity and they recognized my reality. What's happening? Okay. For 5 whole entire human days, I didn't feel like I had to over explain myself. I didn't feel like I had to downplay my mental health. It was front and center. It was on a badge around my neck. And I didn't have to pretend like I wasn't tired or I wasn't overstimulated or I didn't feel like I felt like dissociating. Um, I didn't have to pretend. I didn't have to mask anything. I didn't have to perform anything. I didn't have to overextend myself or just push through and keep going. Danielle says, healthy voice is so absolutely beautiful. It is life altering, Danielle. I'm still processing what happened to me, okay? Every conversation that I had, I said this to everyone I spoke to. Every conversation at this conference felt like it started at step 7. That's what I was saying. Instead of at step 0. You know what I mean? And in my real life, the conversation started 0, and then I have to do all this labor and work and education and everything, which is, understandable. That's the work of advocacy to even get people from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. And there's so many obstacles in there between 0 and 6 that sometimes you just don't even get there. But for a whole weekend, every conversation felt like it started at step 7. And it was just like this experience where I could exhale, right? Most of the interactions, and I'm saying most because I don't want you guys to think it's nirvana. There were a couple times that I had some interactions that were human because people are human and they have health concerns and things are happening. Okay. Everybody got diagnoses. So most of the conversations and interactions I had honored the full integrated picture of me, Rushni, who I am. I'm a mother, right? I'm a caregiver. I'm somebody dealing with and healing from a very difficult relationship. I am a person with multiple mental health diagnoses. I'm a person who puts information on the internet to advocate for those diagnoses and for my son's diagnoses. I'm a person who's moving out of my house of 20 years, and commuting back and forth most of the days of the week so that I can still be the primary caregiver for my son's needs. And the care that I received was probably the whole impetus for this video. It was care that I didn't even know existed for people like me. I don't know. So that's why I'm sharing it. It was care I didn't expect because honestly, my invitation for the conference came like super late at the last minute, and I wasn't even sure what I was signing up for when I said yes. I just sounded good. I made the logistics and I went. Okay. So I didn't really get it till I got there. The care I got, I didn't even know I could receive care like that because I don't get cared for like that in my daily lived life, right? So I'm talking about people making accommodations for me without me having to ask them, people checking in with me gently from a place of knowing and understanding, people who were advocating for me, because remember, I'm in a room full of advocates, okay? People who are advocating for me. What? Usually I'm the one doing the advocating. People making space for my whole entire mental health diagnosis without treating me like something was wrong with me or that I had to pretend like it didn't exist or that they were confused or they were trying to talk me out of it. None of that. At this Healthy Voices conference, the Healthy Voices and the Johnson& and Johnson team cared for me like I mattered. And after 5 whole days, almost a full week of being held at that level, emotionally, right? Logistically, all the moving parts that I didn't have to do anything about. And honestly, just as a human being, coming back home was jarring. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It was like hitting a wall. It is like hitting a wall. I'm still processing it, okay? Which is why I'm making this video because I know I'm not the only person that has felt this way in this specific space, but also because Black women, we are the caretakers of our communities. This sort of reentry can be a very nuanced experience that you might get some information that can help you as well, okay? Reentry after respite, after rest, right? You really don't realize how much weight you are carrying until somebody sets it down for you. And you don't realize how unseen you've been until somebody just looks at you and gets it. And then you have a weekend of people just seeing you over and over and over, which brings me to this. Re-entry after respite is an entire emotional event. And I don't think we talk about it enough, right? People think that you come back from vacation, you come back from a conference, you come back from a break, you come back from a hotel stay, you come back from rest, an intentional time of rest. People think you just pick up where you left off, right? You just slide back into your routine. That is not how that works. That's not how any of this works. Re-entry for me this week has been more like standing in the kitchen and being like, "Wait, where am I? Do I remember how to do this? Wait, what do I have to do today? What? Why is my body so confused? I feel like crying and sleeping and cussing, and I'm tired. What? What do I have to do? Who? What do I have to do right now?" And here's the truth that I'm learning in real time, and I'm sharing with you guys in real time. This is happening right now. I and you, right? We're not breaking down when we feel that way. How about that? If you're watching this and this resonates with you, sis, it's not a breakdown, it's a whole entire recalibration. That's what I'm realizing. It's a recalibration, and we have to allow ourselves to experience it. My body just spent several days in a place where I was held, understood, accommodated, and treated like a whole human being that deserved to be cared for. So, walking back into a place where I have to care for others and I am needed, it's legitimately and validly jarring. And I get to say that. So if you are going through this, whether you are a caretaker um, in any capacity, whether it's a caretaker for a person in your life or a caretaker for your community, I'm here to tell you that not only do I understand nothing is wrong with you, you are just adjusting. We are adjusting to the reentry, okay? Your body's got to rest. They got to experience care. They got to experience softness and feeling seen. And then that softness is now bumping up and pushing against your old harder patterns. Definitely you, Brenda. Well, hopefully this video will help you because I thought I had a whole different video planned, but I just decided that this was such a unique thing that was going through my brain. I wanted to talk about it. This I'm in reentry mode, Danielle. Okay. This is where I'm at. And I'm gonna be honest about it. So let's talk about my favorite thing ever, the nervous system. Yay! Okay, give me a sippy. Mhm. Y'all knew it was coming, the nervous system. Let me break this down plain, and let's talk about the nervous system. So when I got back from this when I was at the conference, okay? When I was at the conference, or let's say you're on a trip, right? Let's say you're on a trip or you're given a break, you've taken a break from life, from caregiving, from community care, from whatever you're doing. And you are in a space where you get to rest and your body gets to shift. Your body gets to shift into its safety mode. Say it with me. What mode is that, you guys? It is your parasympathetic mode, right? It's your rest and digest part of your nervous system. So you're breathing deeper, your body's getting more oxygen, you can move slower. You can think clearer. You have more access to the thinking part of your brain. You're probably laughing more now. You're dancing. You're eating. You're snacking. You're napping. Okay. And in my case, at the conference, a whole entire team of people, thank you, Jesus, were not just taking care of me, you guys. These people handled all of my travel needs during the government shutdown, which meant I had 2 delayed flights and 2 canceled flights. I did not have to lift a finger. I spent an extra night in the hotel, didn't have to do anything about it. My flight was canceled. My 6 a.m. flight was canceled. I had a 3 a.m. driver coming. I called those people at 1:40 in the morning. They were awake and told me everything's already handled. I went back to sleep. And yes, drivers were coming to pick me up from the airport and to drop me off where I needed to be. These people made sure I had flights, hotel, food, comfort, everything. When I got stuck at the hotel, the team that was physically there was like, "Listen, whatever you need. You want us to help you go out and see the place?" And I was like, "No, I just want to rest." They were like, "Well, bet. Anything you need in the hotel room, go for it and we'll pay for it." What? Okay. In that state, I'm in my full parasympathetic. I am resting, I am soft, and I am being taken care of in a way that I don't know if I've ever experienced, okay, barring being on a cruise ship. Yeah? That is my nervous system. Or if you've ever gotten to experience anything remotely close to that, or you went on a cruise, you took a vacation, you went to a hotel, you went to a conference, you were off the clock basically, right? That's your nervous system saying, oh, oh, this is what life feels like when I'm not in survival mode. Look at that, right? And then you come home, right? And all of a sudden you got 27 invisible checklists that you got to work with, and actually probably more visible ones, right? You got appointments, you got routines, you got the care needs of your person that you're caring for, you got your care needs, you got medical needs, you got schedules, people asking for decisions, people asking you questions, fielding phone calls, catching up on emails, you got to do this, you got to do that. People are giving you orders, nobody's asking you any questions, people wanting access to you, people wanting logistics of life shifting all over the place underneath your feet, right? And your body now has to snap back into the sympathetic mode, your nervous system, which is your hyper awareness mode. It's the mode to get things done. So you feel that shift really fast and it comes at you. So if you've ever re entered after respite or a break and felt like crying, felt a little numb, felt very disoriented, felt overwhelmed, even irritated or disconnected. I felt all those things. I don't think I cried. I think I teared up, but I definitely have felt that way, which is why I'm making this video because listen, I'm the one that'll make it. So I'll make it so that you can be seen. That is literally a physiological shift trying to catch up with your reality. Your body is trying to go from your parasympathetic back into the sympathetic very abruptly. And I'm just here to tell you that it's normal, it's human. You're not being dramatic, you're not being over emotional. It's literally your nervous system saying, "Whoa, okay, wait." Wait, and say it with me because say this all the time. Is your nervous system working as intended? It's your nervous system working as intended. So now let's talk about another topic that I like to talk about, which is grief, because often people don't bring up the concept of grief in certain places. And I want to acknowledge the grief because I am just realizing that there is a grief as part of like my story that I haven't acknowledged and that I've been carrying silently. And so this is like me working this out in real time, right? There's a grief that comes from feeling seen and supported elsewhere, somewhere else, and then coming back to your lived experience that you actually live here where you are and realizing that you have an entirely opposing reality. Does that make sense? So it's like a grief of realizing how much you actually carry every day because you didn't have to carry it. You were so used to it. There's a grief of noticing how little is carried for you, and in my case, me. Yeah? There's a grief of having to, like, having my diagnoses honored, seen, and integrated into my experience in one space, and then coming back and having that just be, like, disappeared, invisible. Not a non-thing. There's a grief in realizing that I may have never been held like that in my entire life. And that was something I was pondering a lot, especially on the day that I was stuck with the travel stuff. How seen I felt and how it felt like such a new experience, and I was trying to figure out the words. And I still don't know if I have the words, but I'm doing my best. If I'm making sense, let me know in the comments, you guys, right? Being in community with people who understand that I have depression, who understand that I have anxiety, who understand that I have PTSD and I'm a caregiver and my son has a disability and I'm in a difficult relationship and I am an advocate online and all of these things all at once. These things are happening. They all happening at once. Okay? Something about that shifted something in me forever. Okay. Brenda says she understand. Lori says she understand. Okay, good. I'm glad I'm getting it out. There was a lady at the closing session of the conference. She stood up and she said, "This has changed the lens of who I am and the work that I'm putting into my world." And when I tell you, I will never forget what she said because I agree. I felt that in my bones. This weekend was life altering to me, right? Now that I've experienced this new phenomenon of feeling so seen and cared for, like I can't unexperience it. I can't unsee it. And now I'm gonna tell y'all about it so that y'all can potentially curate these types of experiences too, right? I can't go back to the spaces where I felt invisible in my real lived life ever again. I can't do it, right? Okay, so now let's talk about 5 things I'm doing this week, I've done this week, I'm doing, and I've done this week so far to re-enter my real lived life after respite without crashing all the way out. Okay, without crashing out. Let's talk about 5 things. And if you have any suggestions on ways that you re-enter after respite and give yourself a soft landing, please leave them in the comments so I can see them. The first thing I did is I take it slow intentionally because sis, this is not the moment to rush. You ain't gonna rush me. Okay. Let me be honest, you guys. This is a very honest video. Okay. You ready? Listen up. My first day back after being stuck traveling, cancel flights, and a partridge in a pear tree. Was not a simple day. It wasn't, okay? I was stuck in New Jersey. I had to be there an extra day. And then the day I landed was complex. Let's put it that way, complex. Yeah. The next day, I had to commute back to my house. Because remember, I told you I'm not there. I have to commute to my house. I had to get my son ready for a partial day of school. Why partial, Rushni? Because 13 months after his spinal fusion surgery, he is not fully healed. So he is not back in full day school. You heard me say that right. The surgery where he almost died on the operating table over a year ago, my son still has open wounds that I am dressing multiple times a week. And therefore, he is not back in full time school. So the next day, that's what I came back to, right? And then after doing that and transporting him there for a partial day of in-person school, but not a full day, I had to get him back home and I had to get him on virtual because he's not in full-time school. We still have things to do that are virtual. So we're splitting things. So not only am I splitting where I am, I'm splitting things with school. That was the day after I came back home, right into that. And then, you ready for this? Because this adds a sprinkle to the top. Listen up, ladies. I did all of that while holding on to the reality that that day was my 19th wedding anniversary. In a relationship that honestly has been whooping my tail. And that day, no one acknowledged that it was my anniversary. I mean, I know why they didn't acknowledge it, but you have to see what that was like for me coming back in. So it was a lot. And I took it slow. I believe all healing begins with a pause. And if I'm not given a pause, I take one. So that day, I decided to come in, focus on my son and what was necessary. Thank you for the hearts, Marissa. Thank you, Brenda. All I did was focus on my son. I focused on my son. I focused on myself. I focused on rebuilding a bit of a rhythm instead of trying to like attack all the things and the emails and the messages and the phone calls that I didn't. I didn't do any of that. Okay. I came in and I chilled all the way out. Also, I have already created what I consider to be sacred spaces where I am listened to and I am supported and I am held by people who love me. And so I used those spaces. I unpacked things that were going through my mind that day when I needed to. And the ladies in those spaces showed up for me. They held space for me and they reminded me that I don't have to carry everything I'm going through alone. So, number one is I took it slow because my nervous system and your nervous system needs familiarity and tenderness and an intentional pause before it jumps right back into productivity. Give yourself grace, take it slow. Okay. Yes, Marissa. If I'm not given a pause at this point, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. It's mine. You're not going to rush me into the grave. Okay. Second thing I did to re enter my life after respite and not fully fall apart. Okay. I'm sharing this. Hopefully, it's going to help somebody. Right. Is I prioritized my rest and my full nourishment. When I got home the day from the airport after all of that shenanigans, okay, all of them shenanigans in the airport and all of that, the first thing I did was take care of Rushni. I stopped, I got food, I ate the food, I took a nice shower, I drank a bunch of water, I got to rest in, I slept real good, I knocked all the way back out because 2 nights at the conference, I was fighting for my life with the hotel bed and trying to get comfortable, and then the second 2 nights, I finally figured it out. So it was a bit much. I was happy to be back home, right? I did not go into catch-up mode. I did not open this laptop and start emailing people. I did not check the text me it was text messages galore, okay? I had a copy and paste that I was sending people. "I'm stuck traveling because of the government shutdown. I will get back to you when I get back in town and be settled," okay? I did not do it. My to-do list sat there waiting. That little small reset that I gave myself was literally the only reason that I got to show up the next day without crashing out on the anniversary that wasn't an anniversary with the kid who's in virtual school, but also in person school, and I'm in 2 different places while I'm doing wound care and a this and a that and the other. Okay. Taking all that time for myself to intentionally rest, to prioritize my physical body needs, my need to stop when I reentered is how I didn't crash out, right? And all of that to say what made reentry harder and also easier, this is complex. Okay, I wrote this in my notes and I hope I can get this out, is the conference gave me a level of support I wasn't familiar with and I didn't even know was possible, right? They held me without me having to teach them how to hold me. They understood that I had diagnoses without me having to give them like a presentation about my diagnoses and do all the initiating of information. They accommodated the needs that I had without me having to advocate for the needs first. They took initiative in ways that I've never experienced, and this was so new to me, and this was one of the things that was life altering to me because I was like, "Oh, that exists?" Right? So now, this week, in my lived day-to-day life, I actually have curated spaces for myself before this, beautiful spaces, with women who care about me, who will do the work with me, and who will learn as we grow together. I'm talking about my personal spaces. I'm not talking about my coaching spaces, although I do curate those spaces for you guys too, but I'm talking about for me, myself, Rashni. Okay. I got personal spaces. And these women show up for me while managing their whole entire full life. And I feel like these types of spaces are necessary. These types of spaces are needed. And these types of spaces are communities. So, um, what I experienced at the conference was a little different. It wasn't better, it was different. It was more resourced, it was more informed about, like, my diagnoses and my needs without me having to say the things, and it was more I think it was because I was surrounded by advocates, so they were more practiced in their advocacy, right? And honestly, that experience showed me what was possible, like, what nourishment actually felt like. So the whole point of me saying this to you guys is if you have not already, prioritize your rest and your nourishment, not just your body's nourishment, although that is important, your spiritual and your community nourishment. I highly recommend that you find or create, because you know, if it don't exist, I'm gonna make it, right? A space where your whole self is welcomed. Not perfect, your tired self can come, your broken self can come, your laughing self can come, your dancing self can come, your crying self can come, your unraveling self can come, and your coming back together you can come. Intentional spaces of support. And even more importantly than finding them, use them. Use them. If you haven't already, I recommend creating and finding these spaces. Let people show up for you in the ways that they can. As an aside, I wanna say this because I had a great uncle and he got me all the way together. I was in my 20s and he told me this, and I'm gonna tell it to you guys because he is a wise man and it has changed my life. Caregivers typically suck at receiving, and we need to learn not to be that way. We are notorious, and I say this, listen, if you are not a caregiver, like, for your mom or your child or whatever, Black woman, you're a caregiver. That's what we do, okay? So listen up. We are notorious for pouring into everybody else and then refusing to receive anything back, which my great uncle told me is a form of pride. And I was like, oh my God. But as I've kept living and gotten older, I realized that he's right. We will burn out, not because the help doesn't exist, right? The help exists. We will burn out because we won't let anybody help us. People are offering, "Oh, no, no." Listen up, sis. How do you re-enter without crashing out? Let people hold you when they offer. Let people help you when they offer. Let your community pour back into you. Let somebody witness you. I'm not saying you gotta get on the internet and tell everybody your business like I'm doing. I'm not saying that, boo boo, but I'm saying somebody's offered. I know they have. Somebody has offered. Let them, okay? When I'm telling you these things to do in my videos, I'm not out here spitting theories to you guys. I hope y'all know I'm living this stuff. Sometimes in real time, like in this videos, sometimes I've been done did it and I'm just trying to give you the shortcut. The women in the spaces that I have curated have helped me process this week. They've helped me prioritize this week. They've helped me be steady this week. They've listened to me pour out my babbling babble about things going on in my brain. They're helping me tomorrow in real life. They've helped me recalibrate, right? These women are like a breath. And so I encourage you to understand that rest and community is not an indulgence, Black women, and it's especially not an indulgence for us that take care of others. It is the tool, it is the equipment, it is the essence. It's our protection and it's how we survive. Okay, three more. The third thing that I did this week to keep from crashing all the way F out, okay, after coming back from that experience, is I followed my task list and not my anxiety. Because my anxiety has been trying to take me out this week, and I refuse. Okay. I learned this when I got my son's medical diagnosis and I was pregnant, and a voice in my head told me that I could either go into an abyss of darkness that I would ever never come out of, or I could get up and start doing my task list. And at the time, I was like, what does that mean? Like the choices seemed horrible, like psychological break or go clean the kitchen. And the voice was like, go clean the kitchen. And I was like, what? But listen, that was 14 years ago. And let me tell you what, when in doubt, task list that thing out. Okay. After respite, my brain likes to sprint ahead, okay? I like to create a bit of chaos, a bit of pandemonium. Remember I told you I'm coming straight from the parasympathetic into the sympathetic and I got right? Or better yet, I will check all the way out and forget who I am, whether I'm coming or going, and what I have to do next, okay? I will go fight, flight, freeze. I will go freeze, collapse, blank out, dissociate. I don't know where I am. And I can't do that because I have a son with special needs and I'm his primary caretaker, okay? So listen, when my brain does not know what to do, guess who knows what to do? My task list. I'm trying to help somebody, okay? If you don't already have a way to prioritize what you do on a day-to-day basis of the life that you are creating with intention, what you doing, girl? Sis, what is you doing? Okay. First of all, you need to come through and do the Create Your Life virtual planning retreat. Let me throw that up on the screen for you, okay? Because let me and the other participants help you get it all the way together, okay? I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. bit.ly/virtual planning retreat. We start on December 12th. Accountability for the whole year. Girl, what are you doing without the list? But also, if you don't have a list, make a list. I don't care if you wake up every morning and write down the top 3 things you have to get done today. That's it. I don't keep it simple. My list this week, it kept me honest, it kept me grounded, it kept me paced, and honestly, it kept me and this boy alive, okay? Because when I don't when I don't when I'm like and I can't get my brain to do the braining, I have to go straight to the list, and the list has to be like, "This is what is next." Alright? So make you a list. When your mind starts spinning, your list can calmly tell you, "Start here. Do this." Right? So you don't have to know what to do because you just check the list. When in doubt, list it out. Okay? When in doubt, list it out. The fourth thing I did after my reentry this week to keep me from crashing all the way out is I did a little environmental reset, okay? This has been a whole journey because as I just revealed to you guys, I am moving out of my house of 20 years. And let me tell you something. Okay. My new space is not all together. This is things are all over the place. Okay, things are thinging. More things are coming tomorrow. There's piles of things that are at corners and what? Okay, I just it's a lot going on. All right. So when I came back from the conference, I took a few minutes to just clear out a few little spots. Nothing big, nothing perfect, no HGTV level makeover. I just reset one small spot in my environment. Just made it feel a little cleaner, a little more aligned. I straightened up a couple little areas. You don't even have to do a couple, you could do one, right? I moved a couple things to where they belonged throughout a box or two, right? I didn't need my whole life to be reorganized, but I just needed something that made me feel grounded. So, one small reset in your environment can give your body something peaceful and clear to anchor to. For me, it was like saying, okay, I'm back. I'm settled in. I'm re-entering more gently, and my space gets to support that re-entry. So the fourth thing is just a tiny environmental reset can make any messy season feel a little bit more breathable. I've absolutely found that. And no, it's not perfect, but it's on the way. The fifth thing I did the fifth thing I did to re-enter after respite without crashing all the way out is what I'm doing right now. It's what I'm doing right now, you guys. I named my transition out loud. Said to myself, I am back and I am in caregiver mode. I am bringing my rest and my experience of being cared for with me. And if you're here watching with me, I am actually practicing this fifth one in real time. I'm literally sitting here with you, making a video and saying all kind of hella honest stuff. Naming my transition out loud, saying it out loud, right? Because your brain benefits from hearing what's actually going on. Whatever experience you're having, sometimes when you say the words out your mouth, it's a different system that hears it and it can anchor you back in the reality that you're in. My coping mechanism of choice, my trauma based coping mechanism, I've shared this before, dissociation. And so sometimes it can be a little hard for me to be like, whoa, what's going on? And almost like not accept it. And so re-entering this space, I found that naming the transition out loud was super helpful. Not only does my brain need to hear it, I think my body needs to hear it so it can assimilate it back to my reality. You don't have to return in your reality as a separate you. It's not like I was somebody else at the conference and I'm a whole different person. I'm the same me. I don't have to return exhausted. I wasn't exhausted. I was super rested. You don't have to return depleted, right? You also don't have to be silent. You don't have to be performative. You don't have to break pieces of yourself off and leave them anywhere. Bring them back with you. I'm always telling you guys, bring all of you, right? Come back. Go get her, right? You get to return, and I have gotten to return as my whole actual integrated self. And me making this video is part of that, right? I know a couple things I've said in this video. For the longtime riders who are watching live and on the replay, I know some of y'all are like, "Girl, what are you saying so calmly with your mouth?" But you know what? If you've been here since I was pregnant, or especially before I was pregnant, okay? If you've been here with me, you know I am team tell some, keep some. And right now, it is time to tell a little bit more. Um, Naming the transition that you're going from and to yourself and others aloud is part of coming home to and integrating your truth. It's part of integrating your reality. So, yes, this is me saying it out loud. I am re-entering. I am a caretaker. I do not have to abandon my rested self. I felt clear. I felt soft, right? And I feel like all of that needs to be integrated and cared for. And the conference I went to awakened that in me. right? And I know there are people who are listening to this live or on the replay, and they're like, "Girl, ain't no actual way I can say that to anybody else. I ain't saying it on the internet. I know that." And that's not what I'm telling y'all to do. But you're like, "I can't even say it aloud to myself." And when I tell you I understand that thing, I get that. I understand not even being able to say the thing aloud to yourself. Because naming it can make it real in a way that you are unprepared to handle. And naming your needs and your transitions and the truth that you are in can feel very impossible. And I want to encourage you to understand that that is just a sign that your nervous system isn't ready yet. But it's not a sign that anything's wrong with you. Nobody ever told me that. I always thought something was wrong with me, and it kept me in places that were harming me for much longer than I needed to be, okay? And so I'm here to tell you that if you feel like you can never, that's fine. Your nervous system is working as intended. Y'all gonna be sick of me telling you that, but I'm gonna free somebody with it, okay? What you need to do next is when you feel ready, you need to do some somatic or some nervous system centered support. You need to get some, okay? Some somatic healing practices and some nervous system centered support. You need to bring your body into the experience because that's part of why you cannot vocalize your reality. I'm just telling you what I've learned. It's a shortcut, okay? So that you can build the capacity to say things that are true in your life with your whole entire chest and your whole entire body, sis, right? If you would like to work with me, I can help you with some of those things, or I can point you in that direction, glamazini.com, or you can reach out to other practitioners that feel aligned. There's so many people offering service and advocacy in these spaces nowadays that are supportive to you on your journey. But if you feel that way and you don't know what to do, that's where you start. Oh, look, I can see again. Either way, you deserve to come back home to yourself gently, honestly, truthfully, and without apology. So the 5 things again, let me scroll back up to my notes and just tell you real quick what they were. Number 1 thing that I did to not crash out all entirely and reentry is I took it slow. Number 2 was I prioritized my rest and my nourishment, physical, spiritual, emotional. Number 3 was that I followed my task list. I didn't even think. I just been checking things off. Today's probably the first day that I've actually engaged the imaginative and curious part of my brain. I was just checking things off to make it happen. Okay. The 4th thing I did was I've switched a few things around in my environment just to kind of reset the energy and the vibe. And the 5th thing I did is I named the transition from where I was to where I am out loud, and I brought the new aspects of me with me. Yeah. All right. So the Healthy Voices Conference changed me. Being surrounded by health advocates, HIV advocates, cancer advocates, spina bifida, rare disease caretakers, mental health leaders, all of us. It changed something inside of me, and being taken care of by the team itself, having my needs met, my story honored, and my humanity centered has been life altering. I am going to be showing up differently online now, which I think is part of their intention, right? In equipping advocates to be able to do the advocacy work. Okay. And in my case, they succeeded. I'm going to show up differently, not just online in my content. I'm showing up differently in my life now. This week specifically, I have mentioned my anxiety to more people than typical. Why? Because there were moments where mentioning my anxiety could help me get a different response. And in the past, I wouldn't have done it for reasons, right? And this week, I realized I can do that. I can let people offer to show up for me, whether they know how to or not. I get to show up and create a life that has me in it, right? So I'm showing up differently in my life already, and it's just been a few days. Um, I'm done living a life that is unsupported. I I literally have been diagnosed with major depressive disorder by 3 different clinicians over the past few decades. I have an anxiety disorder. I have a PTSD diagnosis. And although I'm not a fan of labels because sometimes I feel like people can live in the label and the label can box them in, I also understand the helpfulness of a label in helping you find resources and find community and people with common experiences and even treatments. And so, it's a catch 22. I'm not going to walk around labeling myself, but I am going to create a life that has more support because having all of those diagnoses and then having to be the caretaker to a son with special needs and also being in a relationship that has been very difficult to be in is my reality. That's true. It's like that's what's happening. And so I get to be supported for that. I'm done shrinking my diagnoses. I'm done carrying everything by myself. I'd already stopped doing that, but this is making me unload even more. Okay? I'm done treating the fact that I'm in pain or I'm exhausted or I need rest or that I feel unseen as like a footnote. Yeah? The room I was in that was full of advocates reminded me that I'm not just creating content for you guys. I'm living with the conditions that I'm advocating for while I do the advocacy work. She living with them. You're welcome. Thank you for sharing your process, Joy on the Journey said, or Joy in the Journey. You're welcome. I'm living with these things, you guys. When you guys see me on the internet, I have a depression diagnosis. It's hard out here in these streets. Okay. I have an anxiety diagnosis. The anxiety be trying to get me, right? Somebody's watching me. It's my anxiety every day on the internet, in my house, in my son's life, in my body. Okay. And now that I have lived this short experience of being cared for, I legitimately was sitting there. I might be wrong, but I was sitting there thinking, have I ever had 5 days away from my son like that? Back to back to back. 5? I think the last time I had 5, I might be wrong. It would either be when I was going to my dad's hospital stays in Florida, which isn't exactly respite, okay? And before that, it would have been my 40th birthday cruise, and I will be 50 in a few months. So, 9 years ago was probably the last time I had 5 days off from being a caretaker straight in a row. And now that I've lived it, I can't go back. I can't go back, okay? So these are the questions I would ask you watching live or on the replay. Um, After you have a break, yeah, what's the hardest part of re-entering for you? If anybody wants to answer that in the comments, I would love to hear from you. What's the hardest part to you? I think for me, I'm looking at your comments. I think for me, the hardest part is realizing that as a caregiver to my son, there really isn't a way for me to recreate the level of respite and care that I experienced for those 5 days in my lived life because I didn't have my son, right? So realistically, I can't fully come back in and be like, oh, I'm doing that exactly because I can't. Right? I gotta take care of my son, and being the caretaker of a person with special needs has its challenges. So that's probably the hardest part for me. Another question I would ask you guys is, what does your body need after you take a break that you usually ignore? What does your body need that after you take a break that you usually ignore? Okay, Brenda says, I start feeling resentment when I said, what is the hardest part of reentry for you? And that's real. That's real. That's why I wanted to bring up grief. I don't think I felt a lot of resentment, Brenda, but I felt grief. And I wanted to say it because I'm like, we're told, there are certain emotions we're told that we are supposed to feel in certain spaces and that are acceptable and all that. We off that. Okay. Who has the time? You are a complex being and you can have complex emotions. I can be giddy to see my son and miss him, which I did. I missed him immensely. Um, I can be excited to take care of him and all of that, and I can also grieve, and you can also feel resentment, right? Like, all of these emotions get to happen at the same time. There was a conversation we were having during one of the sessions at the event. We were talking about advocacy and identity, which, identity is like my favorite thing in the world. So the fact that they had a whole session on identity, I was like, yeah. So we're sitting there doing the little workshop thing, and there was a lady talking about choosing which emotion she was gonna feel in a situation, and I shared with her, I was like, and she teared up, and I was like, "You get to feel all those things at the same time." And it was I could see her whole body relax. I was like, "You don't have to choose. There's no rules on what you feel. If you feel it, you felt it. It's happening. Feel them." Right? And so thank you for sharing that you start to feel resentment when you re-enter from respite because that's a real true human emotion that can be experienced at the same time that other more, positive emotions are happening and it gets to be there. The question I asked was, what does your body need that you usually ignore? I think for me, I said it earlier, I've started pausing more, moving slower. I saw this lady do a TikTok and she was talking, where's TikTok? I don't know, a vertical video recently. And she was showing herself cleaning the counters and she was, cleaning all scrubbing. And then she said she realized one day that she was doing everything in her life like she was in danger or like somebody was holding her at like, pew pew point. And she just kinda stopped and, like, relaxed and just kinda, like, slowly started moving. I think my body needs slowness, like, to slow down, and that's one of the things that I often ignore after the break. You hit the ground running, and I'm not doing that anymore. I'm hitting the ground walking. I'm hitting the ground strolling, okay? Strolling. And then the last question I have is what's one small thing that helps you re-enter after respite gently? Well, I already shared with you guys. So if you have any thoughts, leave them in the comment section, um, either now or on the replay. You said, I honestly don't know what I need. And that's okay. You know what, Brenda? Learning what you need is a practice. Many of us as Black women especially, but us living in Western society are put on such a treadmill of life that we never get to actually stop and develop a practice of realizing what we need. I would suggest to you in your regular life, just coming up with a practice of like stopping for a few minutes and saying, what do I need right now? And answering that. So, like, if you say, I think I need some water, go get yourself some water. Or I think I need a nap. Then go take a short nap. Or I think I need, like Lori says right here, I need aloneness. I think I need 5 minutes of quiet. I think I need to dance for 5 minutes. I think I need a snack. I think I need to tell so and so, no, I'm not going to do it. Check in with yourself on a regular basis, like maybe even set an alarm on your phone for one time a day to stop yourself. And the reason you're doing it is not just to give yourself what you need in that moment, but to practice the muscle of knowing what you need. That way, if and when you are in another respite situation and you re-enter, you will already have the muscle going. You'll be able to be like, "I need a snack. I need that person to stop talking to me. I need to call some" like, you already know. You already know. I feel like I have to justify taking time for me. Well, boo boo, that's what I help with, okay? You get to be you in your whole life. That is a very common experience, and that is not true. But it's a valid thing that you learn. A lot of people, especially if you're a caretaker, you feel like your whole purpose in life is to serve others, and you don't have any concept of being your life being full of you. Matter of fact, you probably think it's selfish. Okay. But stick around here long enough. Okay. I'm going to have you full of you. I'm going to have you creating a life that you love that loves you back. And I'm going to have you creating a life where you realize that there is no justification for you being in your own life because if you're not living your life, whose life are you living anyway? Okay. A dysregulated, distracted Black woman is easy to control, and the system uses her. You don't have to be one of the people that the system has used. I know I'm coming in hot, sweetie, but I'm saying this out of love, okay? You get to be in your life. It's not selfish, it's self-full. That's why I say that I help Black women create lives that they love, that wildly love them back. Because so many of us are used in these systems to create things for other people. And you always have to ask yourself, who is benefiting from me doing this labor? If it's never you, then Houston, we have a problem. So those things are things that you can learn. That feelings like justify. You got that from someplace validly. You got it from someplace. That's not nothing's wrong with that. That is something that you can unlearn as you practice. Unlearn as you practice. Okay. So I just want to say this as we close. You get to create a space that you live in. You get to create a life that sees you, a space that sees you. You get to create rest that restores your body. You get to live in and create and participate in community with people who ask you questions, are curious, and care for you, and don't just make a bunch of demands. You get to create coming home without fully losing yourself. And you get to create a life where reentry after respite is not such a shock to your system. Right? I've heard people say, "Create a life you don't need a vacation from." And although I know what they mean, I'm not 100% sure that that idiom can be fully realized in the life of a full-time caregiver like myself. However, it is possible in part, right? And I'm learning that a big part of that can be the intentionality that I have told you about in this video. Hopefully, you can learn that too. We can take it slow, we can meet our need, and we can build gentle rhythms with ease of feeling seen just a little bit more. Remember, 1% more seen, 1% more you, 1% more held, right? Even if you do it unsure and wobbly, guess what? Wobbly is human. Wobbly is welcomed, and wobbly is still moving you forward. Okay. Wobbly is still moving you forward. Let me throw this up here on the screen and let me put this in the comment section. If you like how I'm talking and you want to experience a bit more support and in creating a life that you love, that wildly loves you back, I would love to have you come join me in the Create Your Life virtual planning retreat. We start on December 12th. I'm gonna do it twice a year, so December and then again in June. So if you don't sign up for December, your next opportunity will be June of next year. If you're unfamiliar, the Create Your Life Virtual Planning Retreat is my reimagined planning retreat that I've done for several years. At this point, I've done it with a few hundred women over the years. It starts with a week of self-paced content that walks you through how to create a life based off of identity work, who you actually are. In that week, there are 4 live Zoom group Q&A calls with me and the other participants. And then after that, the week is followed up with 1 monthly group accountability call for 10 months. So that is a whole year of accountability, of healing, structure, support, planning, and community. Because sis, you deserve to not have to do it all alone. If this video was good to you, hit the like button on whatever platform you're watching on, and please share it on your platform for another Black woman who is healing. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Glamazzini. And next week, I should be back with my regularly scheduled program of videos. Like I said, this week I was just taking it easy. Okay. The topics I have to talk about are the myth of feeling ready, right? And also like faith fair and how to move forward, how to move yourself forward. And that's it. Thanks for listening, you guys. Thanks for being here and sitting with me and witnessing me as I name my transitions out loud. Be well, be encouraged, keep creating. Here's a pineapple. Bye, y'all.